Hey legends, James Russell from TradieVA, and every week in the Time Rich Tradie, we find out what it takes to build a trade empire, get you off those tools, and hopefully not spend 80 hours a week doing it. If you like what you hear, subscribe to get some more juice. Today's guest is a bit of a powerhouse. So he's actually lived the journey that we talk about every week, from being that one-man tradie in a van, going over that valley of death, and building a company that now works across Sydney airports, universities, good guys, public housing projects, you name it. Patrick Zarzour is the founder of Oztech Sparks Electrical. He kicked off things in 2014, hasn't looked back. He's been a good mate for a while. And by 2015, he already has his first big ticket commercial contract. By 2020, there's 1,000 clients in the database. And now I just heard it's over 4,500 that he's got on the list. But what makes this story powerful, which is what I'm really looking forward to, isn't just these great wins, but it's how he did that and got off the tools by building the systems, the processes, and the mindset, and a team that could deliver without him needing to kind of micromanage every single job. So if you're feeling stuck in that grind and the idea of scaling to those kind of numbers scares the shit out of you, wondering how to go from that electrician to business owner, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Patrick, welcome to the show, mate. Let's kick off with the big one, which is, what was that turning point? Everyone asks, what was the turning point when you realized I've got to start getting off the tools if I want to grow?
Thanks, James, for having me. This is exciting. I always like to talk about my journey and my experiences, and I feel like there's a lot of value that I'm able to add to a lot of tradesmen, especially tradesmen and businesses, and that are trying to grow their businesses because I've gone through the shit and I've built through the different levels of experiences I've had in the past. Now, to answer your question, the shift happened for me when I realized that my business can make more money and I'm able to deliver and serve more to my business and to my team and my business's future and to my employees' future when I'm off the tools. It was a turning point for me. It was a bit of a penny dropping moment. And I was playing with the idea of it back and forth a bit, seeing if it actually did work or if it was just my thoughts getting creative. And I noticed that if I take myself off the tools and I throw a few good, decent people on the tools representing our company and carrying out the installations and dealing with the clients, no one's ever going to be as good as you as a business owner on the tools or dealing with clients. But if they're just as good on a certain level, I like to tell myself, 70, 80% as good, then you get 100% of your time back. And when I got 100% of my time back, I focused that time and energy into building the business, looking at the foundations, looking at the structure of it, focusing on sales, delivering to our clients better, delivering to our team and employees and to our future better. And that's when I started to figure out the hack of what tradie can do in their business. It's unfortunate that a lot of tradies don't see that because they're too caught up in the grind of things and on the tools. And I 100% get that because I was also there for a long time as well. And I still every now and then get sucked into that. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just thinking about like when they get stuck on the tools and going back to what I hear is the why, right? There's plenty of people who have that idea, but it's the losing control. That stepping back means losing control over what makes your business you, the quality. What was that mindset shift for you? Because I'm sure you felt the same thing, right? When you're on, you're in control. You're in control of what the outcome is, the quality, everything, right? You step back, that's the fear.
Absolutely.
Speak to that fear for me.
Okay. The fear of letting go is massive, and it was a big game changer for me. The more I started to get myself or force myself to get used to the idea of getting comfortable with letting go, because it was only going to hold me back and hold my business back. And in turn, it's unfair to my business and to my team if I was going to sabotage it in that way. And it all comes down to the mindset and the way you frame anything. So if the easy story that I'll tell myself was stepping off the tools means that I'm not delivering to my client and I just don't feel right about doing that, then another way you can look at that, or another way it could be framed, is I'm just going to stay here in my comfort zone because this is all I know. And I don't want to educate myself on anything more than this, because one reason for that could be I may not be good enough. It could be a subconscious belief, a negative holding self-limiting belief that you may not be aware of. Another reason could be I just can't be bothered. This is what's working for me now. I'm too busy. I'm too preoccupied being on the tools and delivering to these clients. I just did a 16-hour day yesterday on the tools. And when the hell am I ever going to get time to get off the tools so I can work on the business? No, it's just the back of my thought. I'm just going to keep pushing it behind. It's too hard. And those people that have made it have some sort of freaking fairy dust to make it happen. There's all these different thoughts and ideas that I've also gone through, and I can see heaps of traders have gone through, but they're limiting beliefs. And it all comes down to how you decide to frame your decision making. So if I am comfortable with staying on the tools, then I should probably get comfortable with the idea of that's probably where I'm always going to be at. And in saying that, I know a lot of companies and business owners in trade that are so satisfied with the idea of that being their destiny or their future or what they want in their tradie business. And that's okay, as long as they're satisfied and happy with staying in that position. But I also know a lot of tradies and business owners that run a trade that are too overwhelmed with being on the tools. They're selling themselves the idea that one day I'll get off the tools and one day I want to do this and I want to do that. And everyone wants to do, but it means nothing until you start executing on something or start creating some sort of a distinct difference in the way you operate or your decision making in the business.
Let's assume for the moment that someone has made that call. They've said, okay, mindset shift is rather than I step off the tools, everything falls apart or I lose control. And they change it to actually, I'm in control, I can let go. There's also the mindset of what you can do with that time. And you mentioned it before, to increase that level of service so that, actually being off the tools is now a benefit to both your clients, you, and the world. Let's say someone is about to do this. They're about to try to step off. They've got someone there. What are the first few systems or ways that you spent your time once you stepped off that allowed you to let go without losing that control or that customer experience?
Stepping off the tools, focusing on sales. And then you'll start to notice that your business will start to make more money. And then it won't be long until you realize that the less time I spend on the tools, the more money my business makes, provided that I have a couple of decent guys on the tools. If this formula works, me being off the tools, less time, more money in the business, then what else can I create in my business? If I start to move in these little incremental decision-making ways, I just have to shift a bit of my focus, shift a bit of my mindset a bit this way, a bit that way, or step out of my comfort zone a bit. That was the first point for me. That was the first aha.
Okay. You're saying put the pressure on yourself. Get off, get into sales, start putting that through to get the confidence that the money's in there and that you can make a change that's outside of the tools. What next? So now you put pressure. Now you've got these sales coming in and you've got some people to do it. But what did you next invest your time in? What was the next system or process, or what did you put into place next?
That was 100%. Have to have a decent accounting software. A lot of people use Xero. Some people still use MyOb or QuickBooks or something like that. Xero just works for me. But as long as there's clarity on accounting and bookkeeping. Now, a lot of people will also complain on, I don't have enough time to do my bookkeeping, or I have to get on top of my books or reconcile my books. It costs like $80 for a bookkeeper a week to reconcile your books, or a month, or whatever, or you can get a VA to just reconcile your books. It's not hard. It's just a bullshit story that a person keeps running for themselves. Stay in their comfort zones. Next thing after a decent accounting software, or just knowing that your accounts are in order, is to make sure you jump on a good job management system. And there's Simpro, there's Aeroflow. We currently use Aeroflow. There's ServiceFate, there's TradieVA. There's heaps of ones out there. We chose Aeroflow, and we got trained on how to use Aeroflow, and then we're able to build the foundations of a scalable business. And then from there, things just fall into place. The next focus is teams. Just focus on your team, focus on your employees, focus on making the best place for them and supporting them to support your clients as best as you can.
So sales, then money, then your team. So make sure you got the sales coming in so that, the work's in there, support your numbers, support your team, then Absolutely. Know your numbers, get clear on your numbers, so make sure you're profitable, got your numbers clear, and your job management, so you're organized, so you're not losing, clients too, because no point in sending leads in if you're not converting them. Then be able to focus on the team that's delivering. Let's delve into that one. The great thing about the world is you can outsource, you can do your sales and you can outsource your job management and your bookkeeping, VA. That team culture, a little less easy to outsource. How many team have you got now?
Right now, our team's quite small. We scaled down where we've just put on some pretty incredible team members, probably the best we've had in a very long time. I think at our scale, we were a team of 14 between the team that we have on the tools and the team that we had in the office in admin and operations. I had a salesperson at that time and a BDM at that time, and we were using a few subbies as well as our full-time team. Scaled down a bit. Our company's been going for 11 years, and we've noticed that team and culture just comes down to leadership and making sure you build the culture or the environment with people that are on the same mission of wanting to develop, grow, drive, because there's always going to be friction. And this is a lot more easier said than done by all means. We've experienced some incredible humans in our team in the past that will be forever family members of mine that I can reach out to at any time and have good conversations with. And I know that they can rely on me and they know that I can rely on them and vice versa. And we've had some other team members that have just been poison to our growth and to our culture at that time. I like to always see the good in people until I get absolutely burnt. Some people say there's pros and cons to it.
You know what, Patrick? I only had this conversation with someone last week. I'm like, there are plenty of people who walk around. People earn their trust.
Yeah.
And that's one way of going about it. And I get it. And it's like you said, there's pros. Whereas people like you and me, you have trust. Now you can unearn it, but it's a gift I'm giving you. How you treat it that's up to you. Honestly, I've been burnt plenty of times too.
I've been burnt many times, and your kindness gets taken for weakness in some ways when it can be framed that way sometimes with other people. But I'd always still rather wake up this person and be this person, knowing that I'm true to who I am and true to my values as a person and knowing I'm doing the best that I can for people. And some team members just don't understand that as a concept because they may have been in environments in the past where they've just been surrounded by toxic people and they don't believe that this is new, so they could potentially sabotage a relationship at that time or just have that as a belief system that can work against them being their best versions in that position.
How do you work with that? What have you learned over the years that has allowed you to deal with that? What's your day-to-day?
Look, open and honest conversations with them. You always want to approach things in a diplomatic manner wherever you can, whenever you can. But if it gets to a point where the team member's just taking the piss and just not learning and not stepping into their own potential or wanting to grow, then it just becomes a conversation where it's like, hey, mate, we've been here a couple of times. It just doesn't seem like it's a place that's going to work. It's either it's a self-selection where the team member steps out of the business, or it's a deselection. It's just, hey, sorry, it's not going to work here. It's probably best that you find somewhere else. I'll be a reference to you for somewhere else, but I'd rather you work somewhere else than work with us, poisoning what we've built up here. And as I mentioned before, it's an easier said process than done, because a good thing about leadership and culture is, a main thing about leadership and culture is that it then becomes a people management game or a people management approach. You have to understand how best to work with people and connect with their values and connect with their communication styles. It's a forever growing skill. Some people are naturally better than others. Some people, especially business owners, are caught up in the nitty gritty of running and building their business that they just push this to the side, but it's an important element of where the business needs to grow from. Now, some people will naturally fit into what you want to build as a team and a great culture, and some people may need to be influenced into what you want to build and create as a culture, and some people just won't fit there. And I think that is just something a business owner will just have to filter through while he's building and growing the business over the years, coming across different types of personalities.
Different personalities and how they interact with something you've created so solidly. And you mentioned before is whether that's them, it's whether they fit with what it is you have created. And when you talk about what you have created, the asset that is your systems and the structure of how you do what you do that they are fitting into, what would you say was the 1, 2, or 3 systems or structures that you've put into place that is part of your culture? Because that culture of performance and a systemized approach to the way you do what you do it seems to be paramount. what has been the most impactful systems or structures that you've put into most that a client would notice the difference?
Being a business owner, your time, energy, and cognitive energy is being poured left and center at all times of the day. Taking a step back and approaching scaling or looking at how you can be proactive at scaling culture means that you're not going to have time every single day to have connecting points with each team member. So it's something we've found that work in the past is that we've set up Monday morning huddles with our team, where it's an hour and a half session with our team members every Monday morning to set our week straight, give us a real sense of drive and setting ourselves up for the week with success. We would have an agenda to our weekly huddles and would run something called the debrief process, where we would come up with some sort of an objective. And just as an example, our company team objective for our huddles when we run this debrief process is, did our jobs get completed within the scheduled time, leaving our clients satisfied that they left us a review on Google and Facebook, making sure everything is tested okay, cleaned up, making sure the client is satisfied. So along those words, we have that objective written down on the whiteboard in our boardroom downstairs. And that's our objective that we measure our debriefing sessions over. So we then look into the jobs that we've run in the previous week and we measure it across that objective. Did we get the desired result? Did we hit our objective? Can we look at this objective and honestly say we hit it on this job? Purely yes or no. There's no fluffing around. There's no gray areas. Was it a yes or a no? Would either go a tick or an X in that box. And then what were the reasons why we got that result? If it was a no, we didn't hit that objective, there's no emotion in this conversation. There's no blame game. It's purely facts. Let's not be children about approaching this. Let's be men and let's be strategic and tactical in our approach. Did we get this result? No. Okay. What were the facts and the reasons why we didn't hit this objective? If yes, what were the facts and the reasons why we hit this objective? And we're getting into the nitty gritty. So it also gives our team an opportunity to expand into what little 1%ers or 2%ers during the week or during that job have factored on us reaching that objective or not. And then after we go through the results, the reason, we then go into our last segment of the debrief process called the response. And then that basically is a projection of if we want to achieve hitting this objective in the future, looking at our reasons in this debrief process, how can we respond in the future with the information that we have? And then we do a brief run through different points in that. And we do that for the jobs that we've done in the previous week. Now, that I've found has brought a collaborative approach to our team working together and also thinking about different 1 or 2%ers that they can do along the way that they can take into consideration when executing on our work on with our clients and on the projects and the job. These could be projects that run for weeks, and these could be jobs that could just be a 1-day job or a 22-hour job or something like that. So it's across the whole scale. We used to run this thing, and I should probably bring it back, but we ran it for a while and it was really great, where at the end of our team huddle, we'd get each team member to fill out a slip where we would look at nominating a team member for what values they've carried out in that week in something that they've done to support another team member or something like that. So we have our values, our mission, purpose, and values on the boardroom wall as a designed wallpaper. It's actually pretty cool. It goes across 7 meters and it's all up there in front of the team during our huddles. And at the end of the session, it's an anonymous slip that gets filled out by our team where they reflect back in the previous week and they nominate one person in the team they'd like to put down on this slip. And they think of a moment where this team member might have supported them or done something to support the business and support each other. And they have to nominate one of our core company values on that slip. So we collect these slips each week.
What a beautiful way to keep the values alive. I love the anonymous nomination. What a way to not just breed the values, but also breed that camaraderie and generosity. And I guess that trust first approach that you've got too, right?
And I think it's one thing where a company just keeps their company mission and values thrown up on a wallpaper and never touches it again. But then this way we're able to live and breathe it through how we do our business.
There's plenty of good content in here about that value-driven leadership and how much can help you step away. And I know that there's a lot of listeners here in the early days. And I've got 2 questions as a bit of final takeaways for these guys, right? We always like to have some nice practical points, but there's 6 days on the week on the tools. The mindset is starting to shift. They have, again, like you said, make a decision one way. You're in the valley of death, go up or go down. Don't stay there. And like you said, people can be happy to work by themselves. You can make plenty of money working by yourself and being in that space, but be there and own it. Or scale, learn to be a leader, get from Toolbox to Boardroom. What if they were to go away this week? Again, still working 6 days a week. They've started thinking this mindset. What are the first action steps they can take to start their boardroom journey? What would be your recommendation? First action steps this week. What would you get them to do?
I think being clear on where they actually want to go in the business. If they really want to commit to scaling and getting off the tools, then there has to be a commitment that there will be uncomfortable changes that will need to happen. And I think if we were to scale it back, that would probably be the first approach and the first point to take. And then look at putting someone, if they're a one-man band, putting someone on the tools to represent you or building them up. And then the next step after that would be to focus full-time on sales. Be a lot more of a faster approach to scaling and building the business that way.
Speaking of vision, which is we've spoken a bit about today, what's your vision? Last thing for today. What's your vision for Oztech Sparks over the next 5 years? Other than going on a holiday in a few weeks, which there's a vision. By the way, for you guys, everybody else who's
in a few weeks was something, I've been working towards. I've been trying to build for the last year so we can step away for 5 weeks, which we're looking at making happen and us stepping away.
Everybody listen to that, right? How many of you going, geez, that seems like a world away, whereas it's possible. What else is the vision? What's in the Oztech Sparks Patrick vision for the next 5 years?
A lot of it I'm going to keep to myself and will just come into fruition when it gets pulled off. But a big focus on building the right team members in our team, because I've noticed how much of a difference it makes putting the right team members in the team, as opposed to putting team members where you wish they would fit in and you try and have them fit in as best as you can. And then you just, now, if we keep on building on that, I think it will be a beautiful space for everyone to be a part of and want to focus on driving the one mission. And it would just be a beautiful place for everyone to enjoy working in. There's a couple of other things where we've started to, I'm not going to say too much about that, but just as a side note, we've started the company as Oztech Sparks Electrical. Last year, we've started a business called Oztech Sparks Security. There could potentially be Oztech Sparks Automation, Oztech Sparks Fire.
All right, beautiful. And that's what you can do when you got the team. And so essentially what you're saying is build the team that can build the business. I think that's a great takeaway for everyone here. And a bit of a shameless plug, because you've built enough time that you can now have your own podcast. If anybody wants to listen to some more stories and some other great guests, what's the name of your podcast, Patrick?
I founded the podcast called the Connect Podcast alongside our co-hosts, Ben from Shadow Fitness and Ron from RP Wealth. And this podcast is bringing on business owners and entrepreneurs and people that have tapped into a level of greatness and success in the world, where they talk about their journey and their successes and their tribulations and challenges. It's just an awesome podcast. We've had some awesome guests on, and we have some pretty cool guests coming up as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, go check it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Go check it out. And of course, if you're loving the Time Rich Tradie, or you know someone who is stuck in that 6-day loop and maybe needs a bit of inspo, then share it, subscribe yourself, stay tuned for more ways that you can systemize it, optimize it, delegate it, and scale that bloody thing. So catch you next time, guys.